everyone. We're back. We were just having a lot of fun there. Oh, I'm not. Okay. Good. I am still
You
here.
Are here.
I'm here. So yeah,
You are here.
we were talking about, there is a lot to talk about with the hopefully doing next year's Bayard Rustin Symposium. But okay, so there is just a lot going on in the world, and we follow Zimbabwe and DR Congo pretty closely, and so this is wild. We're going into the second hour of our podcast, and we have not even gotten to Zimbabwe and DR Congo. So here we go. Okay, so there's been some pretty bad protests in Zimbabwe, and there's like going up in the hundreds. There's been a lot of, there were, the clampdown has been because of protests against food shortages. The cost of fuel increased by more than 200%, and so I followed Zimbabwe pretty closely for a while now, and as we know, there were hopes when Emerson Mnangagwa that he was going to be turning over a different leaf, and we had elections there about 2 months ago, and 6 people died then in violence there, and the election has been contested. But so Mnangagwa, otherwise known as the crocodile, was in Davos with the president of Brazil, and all these like really great people, and so he's coming home to try and deal with this, and has said heads will roll. Well, heads have been rolling, and among those who joined in last week's protests was a 53-year-old nursery school headmistress, Thandawi Nukube. She was hit and killed by an army truck. Like, okay, man, you're killing nursery school teachers. That's fucked up. And so her son was speaking, and what he said was there's coordinated action between the army, the police, the prosecution, and the courts. And Zimbabwe's High Court has ordered the country's government to restore the internet in full, ruling that the security minister did not have the power to issue such a directive. So the question is who's in charge? Who is really ordering this? And could it be a coup against Mr. Mnangagwa? And so Nelson Chamisa, who the opposition leader who has been contesting the election, has been appealing for calm, but I think he could be appealing for calm harder. I think he could harder. And so that's what's going on in Zimbabwe. And I mean, this is bad. Like, basically, it's kind of like, initially when people were saying that they had more freedom of speech after Mnangagwa was elected, but that seems to no longer be the case. So, okay, so we got those protests. We got a lot of people out protesting in Sudan, and so we have the election in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which we followed really closely. And what happened was the opposition, the election of Felix Tshisekedi was confirmed, and Tshisekedi has been a main opposition leader for a long time against Joseph Kabila, and Kabila took power after the assassination of his father, Laurent Kabila, and Tshisekedi's father was the opposition leader against Papa Kabila. That's what we should just start calling them. So they've been in opposition for a long time. And so it was a surprise that Tshisekedi that it was agreed by the courts that he was the winner, and rejecting claims of fraud, which runner-up Martin Fayulu has declared himself the country's only legitimate president. And Fayulu's supporters have alleged a backroom deal. What they're saying is that it's a deal between Kabila and Tshisekedi to keep Fayulu out. And so, and then we had, a whole lot of the country didn't even get to vote because of the Ebola crisis, and that's in areas where Fayulu was popular. So that's pretty bad. And the Catholic Church deployed 40,000 observers. That just tells you how big Congo is. They're also saying that Fayulu was the winner. So that's a problem. It could be the first peaceful transition of power in Congo ever, but it doesn't look that good. Alongside the Ebola crisis, the DRC is also experiencing outbreaks of cholera, polio, and malaria. And so things do not look very good over in DR Congo, and we're just sending our thoughts to them. And okay, so something kind of sad happened in Poland. Paweł Adamowicz was the mayor of Gdansk, who was killed, and he was a very progressive, pro-LGBT, Reformation person, and so a lot of people have came to the funeral, and he was Adamowicz was close with Lech Walesa, who was the union leader who overthrew Soviet rule. Wow, I can't believe he's still alive. This feels like this happened so long ago. And so, so he's been buried, and so things are not looking that great. And in Liberia, we've been following what's up with George Weah, and he was supposed to declare his assets, and he didn't. And he finally filed a declaration, though it wasn't published. And okay, so he's faced accusations about putting his personal business interests first, including pushing ahead with 2 big real estate projects. But the chairman of the ruling Congress for Democratic Change said this proved that Liberia was now a good place for investors. So that's kind of tricky, if the guy has real estate, you can't really expect him to not. I think he should be able to. The economy in Liberia is so weak that I understand why the president's that's not as, that just kind of makes a little bit more sense than it does here. So, with our ruling parties here making plenty of money. And Okay, so the government is still shut down. It's been like 31 days. There's been a couple movements to today. There's been a couple deals that were supposed to be struck and haven't been. So we're still moving along with that. Are you seeing I mean, I just find that like really, really scary. I mean, that's just.
You mean the effects of the shutdown?
Yeah.
No.
Really?
Not the state, no. It's only the federal so far.
Yeah.
I think it's mainly people who work for the federal, like, I think right now it's, what is it they said it was? The security, the home security people,
Yes.
Them, the
yeah.
home guards.
The TSA
it's actually the same
people.
ones that he's
exactly.
that are guarding the border.
Exactly.
I think they feel it. Mail carriers don't feel it. Yeah, they're still getting paid.
They are?
Yeah, they're still getting paid.
Secret Service isn't getting paid.
FBI, Secret Service.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, it's the main ones that are supposed to be the main ones protecting the country, the ones that are really feeling it, and people who are on food stamps.
Well, that's weird because they said that people are getting food stamps. Well, this
up to February.
But we got food stamps early because of the shutdown.
Yeah, but I think if it keeps going,
And
I think after
no
February is the last. They got it early, like you said, for February, but after that, if it keeps going, they're not going to get them.
Yeah, that's bad. But also, I mean, how are people paying? Like, I read that there's been some provisions or whatever made for people. Like, how are people going to pay their mortgages and stuff like that?
I know. I looked on here, and I have it on right now, MSNBC, and it was also on Channel 2. There was, in California at least, there were some cities that they pass something where they get 90 days or something instead of whatever the normal amount of days is. I don't know, but they get 90 days.
It's just such
after the fact.
Dreadful. I mean, just nothing in the economy is in isolation. So if you have that many people not getting paid, that means their babysitters aren't getting paid, and it means like they're not going out to eat, and so restaurants are suffering, and it's just a huge piece of the economy.
Right.
I read that the FBI is suffering because they can't pay their informants.
Right.
And so that's bad. So that's stuff that should be taken care of. Okay, so so there's Brexit that is supposed to be happening. I just feel like I know, and nobody. That if people don't want to be part of the European Union, they shouldn't have to be. I mean, seriously, as far as I'm concerned. But that is just okay. There's been riots in Greece over Macedonia. There's an This sort of thing is just so confusing to me. People are rioting about part of the country being called Macedonia instead of New Macedonia. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh shit. Okay, this is the sort of thing I forget which is which, but it's just really baffling to me. It was a new nation born out of the collapse of Yugoslavia, taking its name in 1991, and so Macedonia extends across several countries. So it's parts of Greece, this is supposed to be a new country called New Macedonia, because this area extends across the Republic of Macedonia and Bulgaria and Albania and Serbia. So, I mean, those are all really different places. So that's one of the things it just interests me. Like, wow, are people Macedonians? It's just really interesting in that part of the world. I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, what would happen if we took like a piece of, like say the border of the state of Washington, like suddenly got bigger and Canadians weren't Canadians anymore. I mean,
Canadians weren't Canadians no more.
they'd be pissed off, man. Oh God. Okay, well, I can understand riots. I don't think Canadians riot though. They're too nice.
You know how much I know about Canada?
How much?
Do you know how I really started learning about Canada that made me really even trip off of Canada? You will not believe the South Park. Dude, I know it's crazy, but they used to make fun. Have you seen the movie South Park?
No, I haven't seen the South Park movie. Oh God, no! I'm not a South Park fan.
Gotta see how
my ex used to watch
people from Canada. Oh my gosh! You just have to one day see it. And I used to be like, wow, they are clowning Canadians.
Well, have you learned anything about Canada, or?
No, I just think. No, I didn't. Not watching South Park, no. I'm not gonna lie, no.
No. Little South Park digression there. Okay, well.
So you said your ex used to watch?
Yeah, my ex-girlfriend. When, she got really into watching South Park when, we were going out. It really annoyed me. It was not my thing. So, I don't know. So, yeah. So, whatever. Okay, now, what if they... Okay, so, like, if Canada... Okay, like, would it be like if Canada... There's just this whole... Okay, like, if Canada took part of Washington State...
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hey, the governor of Washington State is possibly going to run for president.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would be kind of interesting. See, I'm a big fan of Kamala Harris. I think it's great that I like her a lot, but I would have like slightly split loyalties since that is my home state. And this is, but I'd have to think about it. Okay, so there's a little tussle going on right now between Italy and France.
Oui.
Italy accused... Okay, because there's the whole problem. I mean, these guys are just at it against each other about migrants because they have a problem where Italy won't let migrants, like, enter there and sends them to France. So they have like that fight, and so Italy is claiming that France has decimated the economies of 14 African countries, and that is why people are trying to get away from France, trying to get away from these African countries. And that they were countries that were former French colonies. And so their money in those countries is still tied to it was tied to the French franc. And so I don't even understand. So it means that if their money, like, okay, like basically France was still making money off the colonies, off former colonies, and hanging on to skulls. Mm-hmm. We've talked about that too. And so now those former colonies, their money is tied to the euro, so they're still not getting any money. But the problem is, Italy really doesn't have any right to be so high and mighty about it. France had colonized 14 African countries, and Italy colonized Ethiopia, Libya, Somalia, and Eritrea. So that is just really weird. And so far as I'm concerned, they both have been treating the migrants like shit. And so I don't know, man. It just doesn't seem to me like there's much of anything good going on in the world. Mm-mm. So yeah, so I think with that we're going to take another little break.
Let's rock and
Let's
roll.
rock and roll.